with that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
Right.
Everybody now has an opportunity to pull up their chair and have a seat.
For the past year, we've seen Sheryl Swoopes relentlessly target Caitlin Clark with outlandish accusations, claiming she's a 25-year-old competing against teens, saying her rookie season lacks merit, insisting that no one wants to team up with her. The barrage of criticism felt never-ending.
Some of your peers, they will recognize, her game, but they won't recognize her impact.
Right.
How can you separate the two? It's kind of hard, right?
And I used Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies.
Then Cheryl Miller stepped up. The basketball legend and former Clark coach threw a knockout punch on the All the Smoke podcast, calling Swoopes a big dummy and shredding her false claims. Miller put Swoopes in check, and her defense of Caitlin Clark hints at something huge for the Indiana Fever, leaving fans buzzing.
3-time Player of the Year, 2-time National Championship, 2-time Tournament MVP, first woman to dunk in an organized game, gold medalist. Thank you for making time. Welcome to the show, Cheryl Miller.
Before we dive into Miller's take, ever wondered why a basketball legend is so focused on tearing down the WNBA's brightest new star? Let's unpack the bizarre crusade Sheryl Swoopes has waged against Caitlin Clark, from her college days to her rookie season.
Let's also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old.
It all started with Swoopes' wild claim that Clark was a 25-year-old playing against 20-year-olds at Iowa. In reality, Clark was 22, a typical college senior. When called out, Swoopes backpedaled, blaming COVID eligibility rules, an excuse that didn't stick.
Caitlin Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team, she probably ain't gonna get 40 shots a game.
Swoopes wasn't done. She claimed Clark took 40 shots a game, labeling her a selfish shooter. The truth? Clark averaged 22.7. Ironically, Swoopes averaged 19.2 in her senior year. When Clark neared the NCAA scoring record, Swoopes shifted, questioning its legitimacy and suggesting Clark needed a 5th year to break it.
You asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
Swoopes' claim was false. Clark shattered the NCAA record in 4 years, not 5. She could have taken a 5th year due to COVID rules, but chose not to. When Clark entered the WNBA, Swoopes predicted she wouldn't dominate. Yet, Clark went on to break rookie assist records, averaging 19.2 points and 8.4 assists, winning Rookie of the Year and silencing the doubters.
Didn't say she wouldn't be good. What I said was I didn't think Caitlin or Angel would come into the league and dominate immediately, which I don't think either of them did.
Respectfully, there is absolutely no way, even when we're trying to sit here and play semantics about dominating, there's no way that anyone could ever leave this season in saying that both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese didn't dominate. You would have to further explain what dominance means for you to not sit here and say that a player who is leading the league in assists while averaging 19 to 20 points didn't dominate that season.
Perhaps the most telling moment came when Swoopes appeared on Angel Reese's podcast, continuing to undermine Clark while claiming she didn't dislike her, a classic case of saying one thing and doing another. The basketball world took notice, and soon Swoopes was removed from broadcasting a Fever game, replaced by Nancy Lieberman. Lieberman didn't hesitate to call out the misinformation being spread about the rookie sensation.
I've known Cheryl since she was in college. I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first SBs. I've known Cheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa, and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that, there was this quote by Sheryl that said, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, however old, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were illegitimate.
The basketball world waited for someone credible to step in, and Cheryl Miller delivered. On the All the Smoke podcast, she lit up the critics, offering one of the most authentic defenses women's basketball has seen.
I got off the treadmill and I called her as a friend, and I said, you can say whatever you want. You can have your own opinion about anybody, but you do have to get the statistics right. I mean, facts matter. And if you just get ahead of this and just say, hey, I made a mistake on my numbers, then this thing is over and everybody respects you for your opinion. And, you might like Boston, I might like the Yankees. It's okay to have difference of opinions. Well, she got upset with me on the phone, and I was like, Cheryl, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. I'm just sharing. We're talking. And so our relationship it pretty much is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four. Right. She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good or great with or without Sheryl Swoopes in my life.
Miller didn't just support Clark. She came with fire. Her now viral, "Come on, you big dummies," directed at critics like Swoopes, said it all. But she wasn't done. Miller passionately defended Clark's work ethic, calling out the hypocrisy with the authority of a basketball legend. She pointed out what the haters conveniently ignore.
Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies. Is she getting hyped? Yes. But she was in the backyard. She was putting in the same time, sometimes maybe more than you were.
Right.
I can't fault her for what she was given.
It's the uncomfortable truth critics won't admit. Clark's presence has elevated the entire league, even the paychecks of those criticizing her.
Look, as much as she was given, you can't tell me if that door would have swung the other way where she didn't live up to the hype.
Right.
Come on, folks are still waiting for her to fall.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yep.
So, with that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
What makes Miller's defense so powerful is that it's based on direct experience, not speculation. After coaching Clark in the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game, Miller had a front-row seat to evaluate Clark beyond the highlight reels, and what she discovered even surprised her.
You recently coached the WNBA All-Star Game. You spent some time with Caitlin Clark.
Best coaching job ever.
Best coaching job ever.
Best coaching job ever.
Being around Caitlin Clark, how was the experience for her? She's such a big star. I mean, the sky's the limit for her. To be around her, just talk about the type of person she is and how much she loves the game.
I'm going to be honest because it needs to be said. I can relate to that young lady, and I felt for her. I know what it's like to be hated. I know what it's like to be a Black woman and hated because of my color.
Yeah.
I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't true, Miller said, dismantling months of media spin in a single sentence. She then went deeper, offering rare insight into what makes Clark truly special.
I can't imagine this young lady, I don't want to use hate, but despised. And people just having, she brought some on herself a little bit because she's cocky for a good reason.
Confident.
And I love that about her. But to watch the dynamics and the media, they had their narrative. And I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't the truth.
Behind Miller's technical breakdown of Clark's skills is something deeper, a genuine emotional bond forged through Clark's toughest moments. When the Fever secured their first win of the 2024 season, Miller didn't just congratulate Clark. She gave her the unconditional support that few others did when the rookie needed it most.
Watching her pass, and I didn't know how talented she was and how well she sees the game in a 3D version, thinker. Defensively, a lot better than I thought and gave her credit for. So watching her and just spending a little time. And one thing, guys, that I've learned is to step back and let these kids be themselves.
The embrace between Miller and Clark after Indiana's first win wasn't just casual, It was a pivotal moment. Clark, battered by criticism, felt isolated. Miller recalled, "I gave her the biggest hug. When she saw me, she said, 'Finally, somebody on my side.' She was getting hit from all sides."
He was getting hit with everything left and right, and I just said, I hugged her. I said, "I'm so proud of you." I go, "Savor this. Use this as a formula." I said, "But keep being you." I said, "No matter what, keep being you."
In that raw, vulnerable moment, Miller didn't offer empty words. She gave Clark the kind of guidance only someone who's walked a similar path could provide. "I'm so proud of you. Savor this. Use this as a formula, but keep being you. No matter what, keep being you." These weren't just comforting words. They were a lifeline to a rookie drowning in expectations and scrutiny.
This is now known around the league. And it's telling if DeWanna Bonner says she chose the Fever over the Lynx and Mercury to win now.
Minnesota fans, Cheryl Reeve thought she had Bonner locked down, with the deal nearly done. Then, out of nowhere, the Fever swooped in, stealing Bonner and derailing the Lynx's entire offseason plan. Reeve is furious she lost Bonner to Clark in Indiana.
But the Lynx were there. So to choose the Fever over them is saying something. And I think all of those players choosing the Fever said all you need to know.
Bonner had been dropping hints for months, wanting to win now and barely reacting to the Mercury trading for her fiancé. Minnesota ignored the signs, thinking they had it locked, while Bonner played chess and Reeve was stuck on checkers.
I'm glad that this really worked out, because this almost turned really ugly for the WNBA, man. You talking about Nafisa Collier being on a revenge tour. That was definitely going to be a revenge tour worth watching, man, because they were going to mop the league.
This wasn't a last-minute move. The Lynx had been planning it for months, confident Bonner was their missing piece. They'd already envisioned championship parades, expecting her to join Collier and McBride for a title run.
Man, I want y'all to hear this. All 5 of last season's regular starters left during this offseason free agency. They're talking about the Connecticut Sun here, including 3 who had spent their entire careers, a collective 23 seasons with the organization. One of those players, Alyssa Thomas, sought a move to a championship contender, Phoenix, with superior facilities.
And if you need proof of just how deep Minnesota was invested in this plan, they even considered trading for Alyssa Thomas, Bonner's fiancée, in a last-ditch effort to sweeten the deal. That's the basketball equivalent of buying someone a house before the first anniversary. Risky, desperate, and ultimately pointless.
The Lynx also explored trading for Thomas, league sources told The Athletic, and looked at signing her fiancé and former Sun teammate DeWanna Bonner.
While Reeve and the Lynx made their pursuit obvious, Indiana stayed quiet, building relationships behind the scenes. As Minnesota made a spectacle, the Fever played a patient, precise game, setting up the perfect heist.
Nonetheless, the other things or other desires or other factors, as they say, I'm pretty sure that's the key factor of why she left and why she went to the Fever instead of the Lynx.
And just like that, it happened. Bonner turned down Minnesota's offer and chose to team up with Caitlin Clark in Indiana. The Lynx were left scrambling, Reeve fuming. What was supposed to be their biggest offseason acquisition had just slipped through their fingers, and there was nothing they could do to stop it.
Now, thinking of the Lynx, man, that would be a disgusting team if she ended up going to the Lynx, man. Can you imagine Alyssa Thomas going to the Lynx, allowing Nafisa Collier to play the 4, and then you even have Bonner there as well?
DeWanna Bonner played Cheryl Reeve and the Lynx front office like a fiddle, and they never saw it coming. The wildest part? Bonner had been dropping breadcrumbs about her true intentions for months, and not a single person in Minnesota picked up on them. The signs were there, right in front of their faces. If only they had been paying attention.
Because I can't even imagine Fee at the 3, and then you have Bonner and Alyssa at the 4 and the 5. Oh my goodness, bro. You could tell the Lynx knew that the Indiana Fever were piping up as far as grabbing some of the best players to make that organization run like a well-oiled machine, man.
At last season's WNBA All-Star Game, Bonner and Caitlin Clark had deep talks, hinting at something big. While Minnesota thought they had Bonner, she was already planning a future with Clark in Indiana.
All-Star game. Now there's certain pictures coming around, floating around online of Caitlin Clark and DeWanna Bonner at the All-Star game, chopping it up, kind of insinuating, not saying that this facts, that this whole situation kind of could have been in the works already.
Some last-minute change of heart. It was a masterfully executed move, months in the making. Bonner let Minnesota think they had the upper hand, but in reality, she had already bought into the Fever's vision long before free agency even opened. While Reeve and the Lynx were busy plotting their championship run, Bonner was quietly buying into Indiana's long-term blueprint.
Most of the teams do realize that that is about to happen, so they are strengthening up their roster. And that move right there would have been crazy, fam. That would have been a crazy move. Having Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner on the Lynx, that would have been unfair because then you have Fee and then you have McBride. Oh my goodness, dog.
Phoenix thought they had it locked with the Alyssa Thomas trade, thinking Bonner couldn't resist. But she wasn't tempted at all, leaving their plan in ruins and them scrambling to figure out what went wrong.
Now, from the jump, I felt like Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner was going to be that other couple that always stayed together. But, you know, DeWanna Bonner pulled a rabbit out of the hat on me, man, and said, hey, I'm going Indiana.
Minnesota had every reason to believe they were the perfect fit. They had the championship pedigree, a seasoned coach in Cheryl Reeve, and a roster packed with talent ready to win now. On paper, it made perfect sense for a 37-year-old veteran chasing one last ring before calling it a career. But Bonner saw something different, something both Minnesota and Phoenix somehow overlooked.
But Phoenix also heavily courted Bonner, league sources said, yet the desire to win immediately, among other factors, led Bonner to the Indiana Fever.
In her statement, Bonner didn't focus on joining a powerhouse, but on Indiana's potential to grow the game. She saw an opportunity to build something special, while others saw a work in progress.
Now, I wonder what the other factors were. I mean, going to the Lynx is definitely a win right now situation. It's mainly the other factors that made her go to the Indiana Fever.
The Indiana Fever just went from a WNBA afterthought to the hottest ticket in town. DeWanna Bonner's decision wasn't just your typical free agent move, it was a statement. When she signed with Indiana, she wasn't chasing an easy ring. She was looking to build something that would transform a struggling franchise into a legitimate powerhouse. And if you ask her, that journey to greatness starts right now.
Caitlin Clark, she declined an invitation to participate in a special challenge during NBA All-Star Weekend next month. That's what Shams reported on Wednesday. Now, Clark's representatives, they expressed her desire to have her first three-point contest be at the WNBA All-Star in Indianapolis this summer. Shanae, I'm not mad at it. What do you make of this decision?
Look, I not only respect it, I absolutely wholeheartedly support.
Well, it's official, you guys. Caitlin Clark is not competing in the three-point contest at NBA All-Star.
What happens when the biggest star in women's basketball says no to the NBA? Caitlin Clark, a record-breaking force and trailblazer on the court, just did exactly that. In a move that's sparking controversy and shaking up sports media, Clark turned down an invitation to join the NBA's three-point contest at All-Star Weekend. Rather than stepping into the spotlight as the NBA's special attraction, she's making a bold statement about where true recognition belongs. Stay tuned as we dive into how this decision is flipping the script and what it means for the future of the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark knows how to use the word that many people struggle all their lives being able to use. Some of us never get it till we're old and just don't care no more. The word, take a guess. Take a guess.
Controversy, debate, and, of course, ESPN's outrage. Caitlin Clark, the beacon of the WNBA's future, has just declined an invitation to participate in the NBA's three-point contest at All-Star Weekend.
Well, it has just been confirmed from Shams that Caitlin Clark will not be competing in the NBA three-point contest. Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark will not participate in the NBA All-Star Special three-point shootout in San Francisco and wants her first three-point contest to be at WNBA All-Star in Indianapolis this summer. Her representatives at Excel Sports.
Rather than celebrating her choice, the sports media exploded into chaos. Some argue she's simply dodging the competition, while others believe she's boldly championing the WNBA. So what's the true story behind her decision, and why is ESPN so incensed? Stick around because we're unpacking every detail right now. All right, let's jump in. The Caitlin Clark saga has been dominating headlines nonstop. In case you haven't caught wind of it, Caitlin Clark, the undeniable superstar of women's basketball, recently declined an invitation to compete in the NBA's three-point contest during this year's All-Star Weekend. And wow, opinions are flying everywhere. From ESPN to NBA fans and WNBA supporters, everyone is weighing in as the debate continues to heat up.
The momentum that Caitlin Clark has this season, with her being close to being the face of basketball, both men's and women's this year, I just thought it was the perfect stage. And then obviously, the possibility of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson teaming up once again back in Golden State and doing that home reunion thing, and then having Sabrina and Caitlin. To me, it just sounded like so much fun, and it would definitely bring a little spark to NBA All-Star that NBA All-Star, unfortunately, hasn't.
Let's be honest, Caitlin Clark is the biggest name in women's basketball right now. She's more than just a player. She's a phenomenon. Every time she steps onto the court, she shatters records, fills arenas, and pulls in huge TV audiences. So when she decided to pass on the NBA's invitation, it wasn't just a scheduling conflict, it was a powerful statement. One that clearly caught ESPN and many sports analysts off guard. So what prompted her to make this call? Is she intimidated by the competition? Did she miscalculate? Or is she strategically setting the stage for the future, making a power move that still has many scratching their heads?
It's another testament to where she is in the hierarchy of the sports food chain and, the ladder of power and influence. Because Caitlin Clark is Steph Curry and LeBron James. Like, she's, there's no difference. A great philosopher once said there's levels to this. She's on that.
Here's the reality about Caitlin Clark. She knows exactly what she's worth. She's not just some player thrilled to get an invite to a high-profile event. She understands that wherever she goes, the cameras roll, the money flows, and the fans rally. So when the opportunity to participate in an NBA event came along, she didn't jump at it like a rookie trying to prove herself. Instead, she made it clear, "Thanks, but I'll pass. I'll host my first three-point contest on my own terms, in my own league."
You see Caitlin Clark using her power to benefit the WNBA, saying, not that she'd never do anything with the NBA, but that she's not going to do it this time because the first time should be with the WNBA in front of the Fever fans.
And that's exactly what's setting off a firestorm of reactions. For years, women's basketball players have been fighting tooth and nail for recognition, respect, and financial support. The WNBA has long been cast in the shadow of the NBA, and whenever a female athlete earns a smidgen of mainstream acclaim, there's this lingering expectation that she should be grateful for even the smallest scraps of attention from the men's league. But Caitlin Clark isn't subscribing to that narrative, she's rewriting it. She made it abundantly clear that she wants her inaugural three-point contest to take place at the WNBA All-Star Game, right in front of her hometown fans in Indiana. And let's be real, that's a savvy move. Why settle for being the NBA's special guest when she can be the headliner of her own show? Why help prop up the NBA's All-Star Weekend ratings when she can shine the spotlight on the WNBA instead? Of course, not everyone is on board with her decision. The moment she turned down the offer, sports analysts went into overdrive. ESPN pundits began to debate whether she was making a grave error, questioning her judgment, while the usual skeptics claimed she was merely dodging competition. dodging competition? Come on. Caitlin Clark has never shied away from a challenge. She's been demolishing defenses and shattering records her entire career. If she really wanted to join the NBA's three-point contest, she'd be more than capable of holding her own. But that's precisely the point. She refused because she knows her worth, and she refuses to let others call the shots for her. Stephen A. Smith, as per usual, had a lot to say on the matter. For once, he actually backed Clark's decision, though not without throwing in some of his trademark commentary. He noted that last year's WNBA All-Star Game smashed records by drawing in 3.4 million viewers, while the NBA's All-Star Game struggled to hit numbers anywhere near its former glory. The NBA's All-Star Weekend has been losing its luster, no secret there, and it's obvious they were banking on Caitlin Clark to give them a ratings boost. Let's break that down for a moment. The NBA isn't exactly at its prime during All-Star Weekend. The dunk contest has lost its charm, and even the All-Star Game itself is treated more like a casual exhibition than a true contest. Viewership has been on a steady decline, and the overall energy just isn't what it used to be. So when Caitlin Clark enters the picture, a player who's been single-handedly driving TV ratings through the roof and filling arenas, it's clear the NBA saw a golden opportunity. And frankly, from their standpoint, it made total sense. Imagine the buzz. Caitlin Clark going head-to-head with the NBA's best in a three-point contest. The intrigue alone would pull in millions of viewers. But that's exactly why she declined. She recognized that she was being positioned merely as a ratings tool, and she wasn't about to let that happen. Let's not kid ourselves. If she had accepted, the aftermath would have been just as contentious, albeit for different reasons. A win might have been dismissed as merely a shooting contest, not genuine competition. A loss would have fueled claims that the WNBA just can't compare to the NBA. There was no scenario in which she could emerge unscathed in that setup. Instead, she delivered a bold message. The WNBA matters. She's not a novelty act or a side attraction for the NBA's All-Star Weekend. She's the star of her own league. This move might just be one of the most significant power plays we've seen from a women's basketball player in a long time. It's not about avoiding one contest. It's about transforming the narrative around the WNBA. For too long, critics have argued that women's sports depend on the men's leagues to survive, that without the NBA's support, the WNBA couldn't flourish. But Caitlin Clark is proving that theory wrong. She's driving ticket sales, setting new records, and making women's basketball a must-watch spectacle all on its own. Consider this. Just last year, the WNBA saw a surge in both viewership and merchandise sales. The Indiana Fever, the team Clark plays for, accounted for nearly half of the league's entire broadcast value. Half. That's a staggering figure, and it's all thanks to her influence. She's demonstrating that the WNBA doesn't need to rely on the NBA's leftovers to thrive. It can stand tall with its own stars, its own storylines, and its own dedicated fan base. That's why this decision is so monumental. She's setting a new standard. She's telling the next generation of female athletes, you don't have to latch onto the men's league for validation. You can be the main event in your own right, and the impact is already evident. What began as a decision over a three-point contest has blossomed into a full-blown conversation about the future of women's basketball. That's the magnitude of her influence. So yes, ESPN might be seething, the NBA might feel let down, and some fans might be left scratching their heads. But Caitlin Clark is in complete control of her narrative. She's playing the long game, building something far bigger than a single contest. And honestly, you have to respect that.
Her, Kelsey, and Aaliyah, Boston, they had something special the second half of the season, and I just look at them as a young, hungry team our veteran president with Joanna Barner, Natasha, and me coming from winning programs who have been around the league for a long time and can help infuse something in that team that can take them far in the playoffs, bruh.
Sydney Colson just dropped the bombshell on why she made the jump from the Aces to the Indiana Fever. And spoiler alert, it wasn't for the cornfields. Was it Caitlin Clark's insane three-point range? A covert operation to add some comedy to the Midwest? Or maybe just an elite-level prank? One thing's for sure, Colson never does anything without leaving a little humor in her wake.
So Sydney Colson is obviously a player for the Indiana Fever. Someone signed to be Caitlin Clark's backup, and she is I think she's going to be a solid player.
Sydney Colson finally spilled the tea on her move to the Indiana Fever, and let's just say, she didn't hold anything back. This wasn't some dull, "I'm excited for a new opportunity" speech. Nah, Colson came through with the kind of energy you'd expect from someone who's been itching to drop the details, ready to break it all down like a hyper-excited sports analyst with a comedy degree. The biggest takeaway? The Fever's glow-up is about to be straight-up terrifying.
Championship experience is a whole new thing, and then coming off the bench, backing up Caitlin Clark, helping her with little things, just the knowledge that she's going to be able to give Caitlin Clark is going to be absolutely fantastic. But why did she leave the Aces? Well, if you see some of these stats and some of this information I'm going to put out, you can be like, you're going to understand why it was time for her to go.
Now, if you blinked last season, you might have totally missed the Fever's wild turnaround. They kicked things off looking like they were just happy to be invited to the party, tripping over their own feet, spilling drinks, and forgetting defense even existed. But somewhere along the way, they decided to stop embarrassing themselves and actually play some basketball. The second half of the season, a completely different vibe. They went from, oh, bless their hearts, to, wait, are they actually good? And trust me, Colson was paying attention.
It was only a matter of time before Sydney Colson got to rubbing her hands together like Birdman to tell it all, dog. And that's exactly what she did in a recent interview. Now, we know Sydney Colson came over to the Fever from the Las Vegas Aces.
According to Colson, that comeback wasn't just a fluke. It was a warning shot. The Fever figured things out late last season, and now, with Caitlin Clark in the mix, yeah, Colson didn't hold back. This team is about to be downright terrifying. Like, hide your favorite team's playoff dreams terrifying. Like, we're taking receipts terrifying. And Colson? She was all in on the chaos.
Sydney reveal, I am very excited for this new opportunity with Indiana. I know several players and coaches from the Fever, and I trust what I know about them, Colson said. I'm excited to be a part of the vision that the staff has for this team, and I'm ready to get to work.
Let's be real, she could have stuck with the Aces, where winning feels like a given at this point. But where's the fun in that? That's like playing a video game on easy mode. Colson wanted the challenge, the drama, the chance to be part of something on the rise, not something that's already been built. The Fever weren't offering her a seat on a championship train. They handed her a hammer and said, "Help us finish this." And honestly, that makes perfect sense. If there's anyone who thrives on being underestimated, it's Sydney Colson. The woman spent years proving she's not just a locker room presence or a social media star, but a legit hooper who can make a difference on the court. Now, she's got the chance to do it with a team that's hungry, scrappy, and, if you ask her, absolutely ready.
She said it's a much easier transition now they have a year under belts together, which would be scary. I'll be interested to be up close and personal with Caitlin and see what it's like day to day. And yeah, like that's the thing where it's like, this team goes where Caitlin goes. Like, I think everyone kind of knows that, where it's like, even last year with the team, when Caitlin didn't play well, they only beat the dream.
Colson isn't done yet. While Caitlin Clark gets the spotlight, Coulson reminds everyone this isn't a one-woman show. The Fever already have young stars like Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Alyssa Smith. And now they've added even more talent. This team is different, she says, confidently predicting their future success. How? They're done being the should-win team. The Fever are entering this season with a villainous edge, ready to prove they should have been taken seriously before. Coulson's bold attitude, humor, and charisma make her the perfect fit for a squad with something to prove. She'll talk, stir things up, and back it up.
It was just an exciting opportunity. My time with the Aces was wonderful, and we created history in a lot of ways. And they'll always be my Aces family, and I'll miss those fans and everything. But I felt God was leading me in another direction, and sometimes stuff can feel uncomfortable, but you not necessarily feeling like you're ready to take a step back. But I think that's usually when you need to. So that was what I needed to do. Now that was Sydney Coulson, man.
Sydney Coulson didn't just join the Fever. She's all in on the chaos. The underdog story is about to become a nightmare for the league. And if you're not paying attention yet, you will soon. Coulson keeps cranking it up, talking smack and backing it up. This time, she's got a lot to say about Caitlin Clark, the Fever's veteran moves, and how they're setting Clark up to become a league-wide nightmare.
They went up and snatched Sid Coulson from the Aces. She is 100% vibes. She is 100% going to be a backup for Caitlin. It's going to be fantastic. Backup for Kelsey. Like, she is a great addition to this backcourt. She has senior leadership. She has championship experience. She is the most fun ever.
Caitlin Clark enters the WNBA with huge expectations, but Coulson isn't worried. She made it clear that Clark won't be alone in this. The WNBA is tougher than college, and no one's giving Clark an easy ride. Coulson emphasized that having experienced players around Clark is key, and they're not just guiding her, they're changing the culture. While the Fever showed promise last season, this year, with veteran leadership, they're ready to win and push the young players beyond just improvement.
Hopefully y'all remember how fantastic Sydney Coulson was in the 2023 WNBA Finals. That's what Sydney Coulson can offer. Yes, Sydney Coulson did not play a lot of minutes with the Aces, but she could have. The thing that I love about Sydney Coulson is that she's all fun and games. She's all silly. She's all enjoying her time. She's a boatload of fun. That is the life of the party right there. But when it comes to playing, when it comes to locking in and getting all set for the game, Sydney Coulson's all business. Yeah, she could be silly and whatnot, but when she step on that court, she's business, right? Inside those lines, she is all about her goal, which her goal is to play some really good defense and take care of the ball. And that's what she does. And that's exactly why the Indiana Fever has signed Sydney Coulson. Because yes, she is a great locker room fit, but also when you talk about someone who can play defense, that's something that the Indiana...
Caitlin Clark will be great, but she'll be even better with her squad, including Coulson, who doesn't downplay her own greatness. Coulson's part of a Fever team stacking weapons and building confidence, ready to make noise in the WNBA. Aces fans, however, weren't happy when Coulson signed with the Fever. Aces Twitter exploded with words like betrayal as the Fever kept adding talent, turning a rebuild into a full-on takeover mission. Aces fans were not handling it well.
The Fever better get a ring with this because Sydney Coulson is a two-time WNBA champion, a true vet, an amazing backup point guard. And anytime that CC or any of the guards need to go to the bench, Sydney Coulson always makes the right call, always makes the right decision.
A'ja Wilson tried to keep it together, but after a season of poor team chemistry, she admitted, "We didn't play our best." The real shock came when she said, "We had some things going on," hinting at locker room issues. With Coulson leaving soon after, fans quickly connected the dots, and the drama unfolded. Was Coulson the problem, or did she just leave at the right time? Theories are flying. Some say the Aces were already falling apart, and Coulson made her exit perfectly. Others believe she was the glue holding the team together. Either way, the Aces were spiraling and Vegas fans weren't happy. Meanwhile, Fever fans were watching, and Coulson? She was in Indiana, likely enjoying the chaos, knowing she always lands on her feet.
Thank you. I can't wait to give this to my girlfriend.
You don't have a girlfriend, Mike.
If you thought Caitlin Clark was simply a deadly sharpshooter with an intense competitive spirit, think again. She's also a comedy mastermind. From roasting her teammates to delivering perfect one-liners and pulling off surprising antics, Clark knows how to keep the laughs coming. Now, let's dive into 10 of Caitlin Clark's funniest moments that had everyone in stitches. Kicking things off is the time Caitlin Clark made an appearance on SNL's Weekend Update. What made this moment so funny and entertaining was that Caitlin came fully prepared with her own jokes written down. It was a hilarious scene, giving the audience and fans a chance to see her comedic side. Michael also delivered an absolutely perfect introduction to Clark, adding to the laughter.
The University of Iowa announced that basketball star Caitlin Clark will have her jersey retired and replaced with an apron. Well, the WNBA draft is this Monday, and Iowa star Caitlin Clark is expected to be the #1 pick. Here to comment is Caitlin Clark.
The audience absolutely loved having Clark in the spotlight, and things got even funnier when Caitlin Clark fired back at Michael's earlier joke by asking him to read some of the jokes she had written herself. The exchange took the humor to a whole new level.
This year, Caitlin Clark broke the record for three-pointers in a single season, and I have three-pointers for Michael Che. 1B, 2 funnier, 3...
To wrap up the segment, Caitlin Clark took it up a notch by handing Michael an apron, a nod to his earlier joke when he introduced her to the show. The timing was perfect, and she even took the opportunity to roast Michael a little more, adding another layer of comedy to the moment.
Since you're such a big fan, I brought you a souvenir. It's an apron signed by me.
Thank you. I can't wait to give this to my girlfriend.
You don't have a girlfriend, Mike.
Caitlin Clark, everybody!
At this point, the crowd was absolutely roaring with laughter. The whole exchange only added to the humor, showcasing just how funny and entertaining Caitlin Clark really is. Moving on to number 2, aside from those times when she came prepared with jokes, Clark has had plenty of moments where she cracked a joke off the cuff, leaving everyone in stitches with her spontaneous humor. Like that one time, she tried to make a wordplay joke about cheetahs.
Caitlin, pits of your soul, you're a comedian. Do you have any updated jokes for me?
Why don't they take tests at the zoo? There's too many cheetahs.
What made it even funnier was the way the reporter just stood there, totally dazed and amused, while Clark couldn't help but laugh and smile, fully aware of how mischievous and hilarious the moment was. Now, moving on to number 3, Caitlin Clark doesn't keep her jokes limited to interviews. She's also a pro at the friendly roast. During one interview, the WNBA star was on the court when the reporter decided to test their own shooting skills.
I think you have to go now. Come on. Let's see if you can get it there.
Two more. You know what? I have no legs, so I can come in here.
No, I feel confident. Let's see.
I'm wearing this jacket.
Oh.
Ugh,
That's
terrible.
not bad. Get it there.
Oh my God.
You gotta jump.
Even though Clark tried to be supportive, she just couldn't help but laugh and throw in a few playful jabs. And when the reporter tried to blame his terrible shooting on his dress clothes and the tight rims, Caitlin wasn't about to let him off the hook that easily.
Tight rims, I'm telling you.
No, I think that might just be you, honestly.
This moment just made Clark even more lovable thanks to her hilarious personality. Coming in at number 4, another unforgettable moment that had everyone buzzing about Caitlin Clark's mischievous side was her visit to a goat petting zoo with her teammates. Watching Clark feed the baby goats quickly turned into pure entertainment, and naturally, she turned the whole thing into her own personal comedy show.
All right, relax. Everybody don't fight over me. Don't fight over me, okay? Wait, I don't remember who I bet.
Fans love seeing Caitlyn and her teammates bond over something other than basketball. But the real comedy came from the fans themselves, who couldn't resist making the perfect joke: the goat feeding goats. Now, halfway through at number 5, Caitlyn Clark's easygoing and cheerful nature really shines when she's around her teammates, both on and off the court. Her bond with Lexi Hull is especially fun to watch. One particularly funny moment happened during an interview when Lexi was answering a question, only for Caitlyn to interrupt with a burst of childish laughter at something Lexi said.
What was your intent there to try to make an impact as well as you did tonight?
Thank you. I would say that's kind of my role.
Respectful.
Caitlyn Clark's reaction to Lexi Hull's innocent comment had the entire room in stitches.
And take advantage of that. Caitlyn? Yeah. We're done. Oh, Lord.
Coming in at number 6, Caitlyn Clark and Lexi Hull's dynamic duo wasn't just reserved for the court. The two had fans cracking up once again when they pulled up to a Swig drive-thru to grab some fruit and soda drinks.
Playing with vanilla cream instead of coconut cream. Can I have the beach vape too, please?
What made this even more interesting was that Clark was immediately recognized. But when the friendly lady asked if she was really Caitlyn Clark, Clark responded with a mischievous grin.
You're Caitlyn Clark, right? Maybe.
After being recognized, the owner gifted them golden mugs, guaranteeing them free refills whenever they came back.
Golden mug I want to give you. Golden mug means every time you come through Swig, you just get a free refill.
He said he was going to give us golden mugs. So we'll be back. Yeah.
At number 7, one thing that stands out about Caitlyn Clark is how her teammates not only recognize her playful side, but also encourage it. Of course, sometimes they have to step in to keep her focused, like that time during warm-ups when Katie Lou got the best of Clark, locking in a submission and making her tap out. The whole team couldn't stop laughing. This was a hilarious moment that perfectly captured the fun and bond the team shares. Caitlyn later opened up about it, admitting that she can be a bit of a child sometimes with how playful she gets.
She's just she's a kid sometimes, and keeps everything light, but sometimes you just gotta put her in place.
Coming in at number 8, Caitlyn Clark's humor isn't confined to basketball. She can turn anything into a comedy show. In one unforgettable moment, Lexi Hull caught Clark delivering a full play-by-play commentary on a Philly baseball game.
And that ball's hit to the shortstop. Rojas throws it over to first base, and that's not going to be enough.
The video quickly went viral, perfectly capturing how effortlessly hilarious and entertaining Clark can be. Watching her switch from WNBA star to baseball commentator had fans in stitches.
The Phillies leading 1-0. We'll be back in a minute with a 30-second break.
It was such a viral moment that it even landed Clark an invitation.
The Phillies have taken her up on her offer to broadcast a game.
At number 9, Caitlyn Clark's humor isn't just for her teammates. It extends to her family and friends as well. A perfect example of this is her hilarious moments with her boyfriend, Connor. The two have shared some truly funny interactions.
I just want to sleep for like 3 weeks straight after the season's over.
You want to sleep for 3 weeks straight during the season?
That too. I love sleeping. It's awesome.
The thing about Caitlyn is how she'll enthusiastically praise and appreciate Connor for being supportive. But she doesn't hesitate to throw friendly jabs at him, even during interviews. Like that time she casually mentioned that in a shooting competition, she outshoots him every time.
Having some shooting competitions, it gets a little heated. I definitely outshoot him way more than he outshoots me, but he tries to think otherwise.
And finally, at number 10, Caitlin Clark's playful and competitive spirit isn't just for her teammates and friends. It shines through in her family moments too. Her close bond with her family is filled with hilarious exchanges, but one of the best was when she got fouled and started complaining about it, only for her dad to shut it down with a classic, stop complaining response.
I move, and if they're open, she will find them. Martin commits the foul.
And that wraps up our list of Caitlin Clark's funniest moments. From her sharp wit to her playful antics, she never fails to entertain, both on and off the court. Whether she's cracking jokes, roasting teammates, or turning everyday moments into comedy gold, Caitlin proves she's not just a basketball star, she's a natural entertainer. If you enjoyed this compilation, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more fun and unforgettable Caitlin Clark moments.